Transmission is go. Underbase is live. Hello and welcome to the Underbase. I'm your host Matt. I am joined as ever by Chris.
Hello.
And Adam.
Hello.
And today has been discussing really tracks, MP25, who knows? So gents, let's quick off the bat. Who would you have for your MP25? The world is your lobster. Adam.
Octopunch.
Chris.
Well, wait, is it like what would be an amazing dream masterpiece, or who do I think realistically?
Dream masterpiece. You know, just anything
I don't know.
you want.
I really do want a good Ironhide toy, so I've been hoping it would be Ironhide anyway. So I'll just stick with that. Or Ratchet, it'll be both of them.
Well, you had the stars and you just looked at them. You could have had anything, and you're going to go with them.
He went Ironhide.
Yeah. At least you're not going to be disappointed.
Yeah, there you go. See?
It's like you got the choice of any ice cream in the whole world, and you just pick strawberry.
Yeah.
Wrong with strawberry? As long as it's not the kind that comes with the bits of strawberry in it, because that can just die.
No, that's the green. That's the black Ironhide repaint, and the green Ratchet repaint. They're the bits of strawberry in your strawberry.
Lodged in that, yes, but they're optional, so they're more like, I don't know, some unsavory topping.
What, like bacon?
It's like if they made a masterpiece Ironhide, but it didn't have a head. That would be the equivalent of strawberry ice cream with the bit of strawberry in it.
So it's actually toy accurate, is that what you said?
Yeah, it would be like, something that was an unavoidable component of it.
It's got that little clip-in plastic part like they released a few years back for the Junior toys. Bad times. I want a masterpiece break.
Masterpiece break. What is the ice cream metaphor there?
That would be like Rocky Road with dipped in chocolate, covered in sprinkles, and it can transform into a gun.
Air quotes.
Yeah, okay, it's a penguin that can flip its feet up, okay? I would say I'd like a masterpiece Randy, just for the name.
What's the ice cream metaphor there?
Probably bubble gum.
I would have thought honeycomb, because it'll be full of all these lovely, crunchy golden shards.
Oh, that'd be a true masterpiece, Randy, wouldn't it? You'd open the box and just explode.
Randy was toy susceptible to gold plastic syndrome, listeners. We're getting a little obtuse here, but...
No, there's certain figures that I don't think you can actually better by making them a masterpiece. They just have their place in history of being a piece of crap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For instance, wasn't Optimus Primal on the masterpiece poll?
He got my vote. Yeah.
Yeah,
what are you going to do to make Optimus Primal better?
Stick fur on it.
Yeah, make it furry.
Yeah, fur. That's it. That's about it. Flocked fur, and maybe wrist guns where the whole rest of the arm doesn't flop down. But that would be like it.
Yeah, there'd be very little, wouldn't there, to actually improve on that?
Very little you could do there to make that better.
Yeah.
It's like, what else was on that poll?
Maybe real gorilla fur, actually. That would
from endangered gorillas.
Shave gorillas and stick it to a toy.
Don't know, they had what was on there. It was Armada Prime and John Prime on the list.
Yeah.
You
could improve on Armada Prime, but I'm not sure
why.
I feel you'd be losing the point of the toy and character if you did. And it's like, I don't know what you would do to improve Fire Convoy either.
Yeah.
It's like there was that poll was down to basically Star Saber and Power Master Prime.
Fort Max was on there as well, wasn't he?
Oh yeah, and that was pointless because what on earth is the point of that? So yeah.
Realistically, what do they do with the Fort Max?
Yeah, exactly.
Do you make a 3 foot high double headmaster that turns into a base? Base modes for masterpiece figures have got to be out the door straight away.
Oh, completely.
You know.
I mean, really, though. I mean, I suppose we have the answer to this question in Star Saber, which looks tremendous. Looks like a very impressive figure, in that it looks like the original figure with knees.
Yeah,
you know?
And just like the original figure, I don't need it.
It looks very nice. I do have it on pre-order, but it does look to be just like the original toy with more articulation and better proportions, and a compromised version of its gimmick even.
Mm. Well, I mean, Adam, you're a Motu Classic collector.
Yeah.
And they have, I mean, Chris has just mentioned sort of compromised gimmicks. That's one of the big issues with that series, isn't it?
Yeah, but I'm a stickler for gimmick toys. Like, you know, I like playing with things like Firecons, and I don't care if I burn the flints out. I'm going to try and make them spark. You know, so I'm a bit biased towards a gimmicky toy. But it is a big problem.
The Universe fans generally care, because it's always struck me that they don't care.
It depends. Like, from my experience, it depends on how well executed the figure is, and if they do a good job of giving you the parts to recreate a gimmick, and visually it still looks ace, you can get away with it. But when it looks like a bunch of chuff bits stuck on, like Rio Blast, it just doesn't really work.
Poor Rio Blast.
Which one is Rio Blast?
The space cowboy, like Bravestar, with the handlebar moustache, with the flip out.
They all flipped out of him. Right?
Yeah, and they just stick on, and it just doesn't look right.
But I mean, that's even worse than not giving you the guns at all, I think. Because it's like they look at it and they go, how could we take this awesome gimmick and make it lamer? It's not just how could we cut the gimmick out. How could we have our cake and eat it too?
So it would be the equivalent of doing a Masterpiece Firecon and just giving you a flame piece to shove in its mouth.
Wow, yes, yeah, completely.
Man, Masterpiece Firecons.
Yeah, that's opened up a whole new door.
Will we ever go down that route?
Or doing a Masterpiece Headmaster where the head and the Nebulon were separate pieces. You know, the head didn't transform. It was a head that you could take off, but it didn't transform into a Nebulon, and it came with a separate Nebulon action figure.
Yeah. Or failing that, had even less articulation than the G1 one.
No, that would still be
the gimmick.
That would be dumb, but it would be, it's not in the spirit of what if Battle Armor He-Man didn't have the awesome rotating drum in his chest, but had 3 different clip-on pieces.
Yeah, that was still one of my favourite toys. Any of those from when I was a kid. The Hot Wheels that had the little crash impact zones on and stuff like that. Anything that you hit and it turned around was awesome.
Oh, I remember those.
They were amazing.
Wow, yeah. I forgot they existed.
Just drive stuff into them and smash them up.
Oh, right. That's it. I'm off to Google. Googling the images first, and then probably swiftly followed by a trip to eBay to buy one.
And it probably won't hold together because they never did. Little plastic clips that used to hold them in. Fantastic. Anyway, we're here for a comic. Just wanted to give you 8 minutes of something. Adam is literally looking at Hot Wheels right now. I can tell.
I actually am.
So we are here for More Than Meets the Eye, number 38, the final part of Elegant Chaos, which is in turn the final part of the Chaos trilogy. Let's make that up and go with it and hope someone picks it up. Finishing off the trilogy of Chaos Theory, Shadow Play, and now Elegant Chaos. So before we start, we have 3 covers. The regular cover features Brainstorm, smoking gun in hand, briefcase at feet, pinky out, and a pair of feet in the shadows. Artwork by Alex Milne, coloured by Josh Perez. The subscription cover features Rodimus trying to get in between, look like in between Whirl and Rewind. Pointing guns at both. Art by Nick Roach and coloured by Josh Burcham. And the retailer incentive cover features a sort of a litho print ink print thing by Jeffrey Was they B's or G's? They're G's. Vareg. Jeffrey, I apologise for not being able to pronounce your name. Which features Megatron looking quite arty and...
It's a Native American art style.
Thank you very much. Chris, which one have you got? Which one are you having? Well, you probably got one of the two. So, go.
I've got the Brainstorm one. It's just a cool, dramatic image. He's got a bit of an Escher Girls pose going on there. The old boobs and butt. But, I like the image a lot. A subscription cover is just not Nick's best work at all. It's it just really doesn't come together. I can't put my finger on why exactly. Everything just looks a little awkward. Just awkward and staged look to it. Just hasn't come together well at all.
Perspective seems off somehow, doesn't it? And
it's not right there.
The three-dimensionalness, it comes out in the wrong places. Adam?
I have the Brainstorm cover because I didn't get a choice at my comic shop. However, I probably would have picked that one. I think it's the best of the three, and I like the fact he has his pinky out to hold his gun.
Yeah, I don't know why he does that, but he does it. I think it's just because he's British or something.
I would also go with cover A. It's just a really nice image. It is, and I remember when this was first tweeted or solicited, going back 4 months now. I loved it then, I love it now. I really like the retailer incentive cover.
Yeah, it's cool.
First time I saw it, I thought, what is this? It just didn't do anything for me, and now the more I look at it, the more I love it.
I think it works really well with the the Prime companion one.
Yeah, from
the sister comic.
From Not RID, yeah. It's different. Different is sometimes very, very good. So yeah, interesting piece. So, the story so far, Rodimus leads a team of Autobots into Cybertron's past, pursuing the Decepticon double agent Brainstorm, who they believe is planning to use his time machine briefcase to kill Orion Pax before he becomes Optimus Prime. But in the present day, Megatron makes a startling realization about the dates Brainstorm is jumping through. It's not Optimus Prime who's in danger, it's Megatron.
Dun, 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 dun.
Bum, 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 bum. So we open on the lost light, what's left of present day, and Megatron is taking his expected demise rather well by punching out Perceptor. Basically, he wants to be sent back into the past to stop Brainstorm shooting himself. Time travel gets really complicated really quick. Magnus then actually highlights a reminder for us that Megatron isn't the all-powerful Megatron he was. He backhands Magnus, and Magnus barely flinches.
I know that's probably what it is, but I do like to... more than HCI does this ever so occasionally when it's more about reminding us how powerful Magnus is.
Mm.
There was this... It was in Shadow Play, I think it was, when Rodimus is freaking out. He's ready to go after Cyclonus, and Magnus restrains him, and when Magnus takes his hands away, there are big deep finger marks gouged into Rodimus's arms, and it's like, that's who you're messing with here.
Well, he's really good at fighting.
And it's easy to forget that because of the way the character is generally handled in the book. But the fact is, he can take a slap from Megatron, and he can, slam him around quite easily.
As I say, though, it's got to be a reminder of, Megatron is not fully powered.
That too.
And we have another moment of Megatron not dealing well with Rodimus's leadership. Mainly because they're asking him to trust Rodimus with his life. Lovely things like pretending to be dead when you ask him a difficult question. That's one of the things he takes issue with. And we have a reminder of the Rodimus badges as well, which is always lovely. And Chris, what would you get your Rodimus badge for?
Pedantry.
Adam?
Grinding out every day at work.
And I'd probably get it for tolerating you two. Magnus gets his for neatest handwriting, and Megatron gets his for abandoning his evil ways. That genuinely made me laugh out loud when I first read that page.
Just a lot of great little moments for everybody in this. Perceptor's great here too, like where he is just like less of your shit. Sit down, shut up, and let me do my job.
You remember when I used to have a sniper rifle? I was in the wreckers, bitch.
You know, I was going to say, is it not there? But it doesn't seem to be. You know, it's like, I always just, it's in my mental picture of this Perceptor, I always just imagine the rifle just strapped there, you know, but it doesn't appear to be there now.
No, but he does have the crosshair on his eye.
Yes, but I think we find out later on in this issue that it comes off.
Yeah.
He picks it up to polish it at one point, and I'm like, really? Okay.
He just generally walks around with it in, just for this. It's like a monocle, you know, but he's got a crosshair on it. Adam, you said before we were reviewing, we were discussing a bit of this issue, and you said you really started to dislike More Than Meets the Eye Megatron again.
Yeah, it's just, I'm dealing with 30 years of being told how great and awesome and super evil and powerful and dangerous Megatron is, and he's so whiny and puny. It's kind of hard to swallow. It really is. I know his life's on the line, and he's worried he's going to be erased from existence, and trauma and panic, but still, like, just getting slapped about a bit by Magnus, and just getting talked down to by Perceptor of all people in the space of 2 pages. It's so emasculating. Yeah, not sold. Yeah. Still not. I've gone back to like the beginning of this post-Dark Cybertron. I don't like More Than Meets the Eye Megatron again. It still makes me laugh. There's things there that make me laugh, but I'm like, this has got to pay off with Megatron, like putting on a fusion cannon and shooting someone, like it really, really does.
If he doesn't kill Rodimus at some point, I don't know.
Yeah,
it's got that feeling. Right, so we are 5 million years in the past. Brainstorm has his gun, which looks quite a lot like Megatron in gun mode.
Yeah.
Pointing at Megatron's blue spark. A sizzling suitcase at his feet. I guess we're supposed to understand that there is nothing left in the time case.
It's burned out.
A grenade with Grenado written on it.
Amazing.
lands by his feet and goes boom with a tornado effect.
A grenado, if you will. I didn't even see that it said grenado right away.
Do you know what? I did see it said grenado, and I never got the tornado reference. Until just now, had it pointed out to me, and I'm like, oh yeah.
I think maybe the lettering would have benefited from being transparent there.
Yeah.
So, you know, it does slightly obscure the green.
Maybe that's... did that come from Brainstorm's weapons locker?
It's got to have.
Oh, you would assume, yeah.
Yeah. I just love the image of Brainstorm upside down in silhouette. And the only thing you can really see here is, like, the little glowing parts and his eyes really wide. Like, what? Oh, that works then.
The old time-traveling grenade trick. Is it old? It is now.
The team have arrived, and Brainstorm is down. His legs took the brunt of the attack. And they are in Con Facility 113. Funnily enough. Yeah. So Megatron was built in a constructed cold facility, as Well points out, in the middle of the Silver Harvest. Have we had the Silver Harvest mentioned before, Chris?
We have, but it's a bit contradictory because the Silver Harvest, it was mentioned before whenever all the characters were talking about MTOs back in the bottle episode issue. Getaway says he was constructed after the Silver Harvest, after they found the spark reserves. So that would not be... The MTOs weren't made until the war happened, so... It's a bit contradictory. I mean, the Getaway's dialogue in the issue is vague enough to suggest that the Silver Harvest might not have been the discovery of the spark reserves that were used to make MTOs. But, yeah. I mean, unless what it's saying was that all second-generation constructed cold transformers weren't MTOs, although that's what it sort of seemed to apply at the time. Because, the idea would be that there were ones who were created during Nova Prime's time there on the spot by the sparks that they were generating. Then there would have been this big stockpile. So, but it certainly makes it sound like the MTOs were created from another batch that were then later discovered. It's a bit contradictory. We'll see if we get any clarification about that. But we've heard the term before anyway, in relation to the constructed cold transformers.
Rung is at the computer checking all the details, and Brainstorm has basically erased Megatron from history. His batch code, his serial number, everything is gone.
Well, Megatron hasn't had a batch code since Chaos Theory, and that's the great thing. You go back to Chaos Theory, when Spring Arm's going through Megatron's files, he notices he has no batch code. But he does have a serial number, and then Rung does say he only tried to remove it, so he didn't get that. But he got his batch code.
He asks Rewind for the details so he can put it back in. But Rewind, the timeline has fallen into place in Rewind's databanks, and he now knows the alternate history. And this obviously spells big doom. So they go back to Percy on the ship to fix it, and he's going to basically saying, it's going to be bad, and Rodimus tells him to do it. But things should be fixed, surely. We've stopped Brainstorm. Have we stopped Brainstorm? Brainstorm's back on his feet. Gun pointing at Megatron, pinky out. And Rodimus gets him to stop. And we have the first accusation that he's a Decepticon. To his face, anyway.
Which he is. So that, no, I'll say it now. We don't get the full story behind this issue.
No.
But it's nice to at least have Brainstorm confirm that was true. Because that had been bugging me the whole story. I wasn't sure if it was going to be some kind of double bluff or something, but he certainly seems at least to have been sought out as a spy or something. He is at least that.
Yes, we don't really know anything more, do we, other than he is definitely a con at some point. In some form.
Yeah.
Riptide then accuses him of trying to kill everyone on board, and Brainstorm says, actually, I just incapacitated them. So, what we thought was attempted murder, but Swerve was watering down his drinks, he actually didn't try and kill everyone, which does throw everything a little bit into craziness.
Yeah, I mean, I never really bought into the idea that Brainstorm was really
evil.
To badness. No, I didn't get it. But I mean, there are still obviously questions. But
Rodimus tries to talk him down. That goes well, and then Rung tells him to do it. Your whole life's been building to this point, so do it. And in that reverse psychology way, Rung gets Brainstorm to hand over the gun. And we have that amazing moment of, Rung's this amazing psychotherapist, and no, actually, he's just seen that Brainstorm was pointing a gun at Megatron for 10 minutes before they arrived. So he's probably a bit conflicted. Well spends this entire scene being a dick.
Oh my god, he's amazing. Rodimus is like, I'd expect this from Whirl, and then Whirl just leans his head backwards, upside down into the frame and goes, damn right!
It's just the Nobody Cares song.
Oh, that's brilliant.
No one cares.
I never set out to kill anyone. All I wanted to do was stop the war by steering Megatron away from life-changing events. No one cares. You say that, well, but no one cares what you have to say.
I know people like that. You've just stopped from shooting someone basically in a coma, or shooting a newborn baby, and they would sing "No One Cares What You Have to Say" at their face. And we have the reasoning why everything has happened how it's happened. So, Brainstorm wanted to get a spark print from Megatron so he could track him. He modified one of Rung's models, one of the model arcs, so it would take his spark print during the therapy sessions, going back to the first issue after Dark Cybertron. Actually, it got Rung's spark print, and from Messatine onwards, Brainstorm had been jumping on to him.
And that'll be the X-ray panel of Megatron and Rung from during the therapy session in the Blackout.
Mm-hmm.
And now we get, I mean, it's a nice, quick and dirty explanation for why everyone, I mean, we were puzzled last time as to what relevance, what was it, the first time period last issue had. Which time period was that? I've forgotten already. Help.
Which one? Sorry.
The first one last issue. Oh, the Shadow Play.
Yes.
The Shadow Play. Yes. Yes, that's the one. Yes, the one that didn't have any apparent bearing to Megatron. So now we know what the deal was there. He was jumping to key moments in Rung's life.
Yes, which actually happened to be at the... No, he was jumping to the key times, but he was homing in on Rung. He was jumping to the right time, but the wrong place.
Yeah. But I mean, that's, yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, so that we still don't really have an explanation of why he jumped to that day, but that's why he was where he was anyway.
And we have various things. Basically, he was trying to stop these events happening until he got to the point where he was desperate. And he ended up coming to kill Megatron because everything else had, got in the way, basically. So, as a couple of pages of plot download, before we jump to the moment, Chris, did you expected this, I imagine?
Well, I wasn't sure who was going to be behind it, but... So wait, sorry, what are we talking about here?
The explanation of what was happening, Brainstorm jumping around. You expected a couple of pages of info dump to explain everything. Was this handled well? I mean, I don't think any of us really predicted why Brainstorm or how Brainstorm was doing it.
I mean, he dumps it in the space of 3 panels, which is well handled, nice and deft, just sorted quickly. But it has to be sorted quickly because there's room for a hell of a lot more.
Oh yes, Adam, you're not a massive Talking Heads fan when it comes to these guys. We knew that the last issue would have a lot of this. Handled well so far?
Yeah, it's fine, and there's it's like Chris just said, it's condensed pleasantly, and there's enough humour interjected with Whirl and Tailgate getting more piggybacks that it kind of softens it a little bit. It's okay, it's fine. It does what it needs to do, which is justify the previous 3 issues.
And as Brainstorm is dropping to his knees, asking for medical attention, an explosion goes off, or a gunshot goes off, into Megatron's chest. And Rewind has shot him, using Rodimus Prime's gun, by the looks of it. And Megatron's dead. Dead. And the reason is that Rewind being able to see what the future is like without Megatron is that while it's terrible for the Transformer race, the Cybertronians, for the rest of the universe, it's fantastic. So, basically, he's willing for the race to take one for the team. which nobody can really argue with. And actually, they kind of congratulate him for.
It's hard for them to argue with him. It's saving it's saving the universe at the cost of Cybertron. I mean, I think like maybe there should be some more reproach from some of the characters here, but ultimately,
just at least someone saying something.
Yeah, what are you doing, you mentalist?
Well, especially given the breadth of characters that we've got in this sort of Rodimus time squad, you'd think someone would say something.
And that's just one. It's a small feeling. It's just that there isn't room. There isn't room in the issue for anybody to have a freak out. We need to get on to the next bit, and there's no room for it.
Now, one of the things that I'm surprised wasn't mentioned at this point was that, well, it's mentioned, but not as you say, someone at least having a go at him for it, is that it's not this universe's or this timeline's rewind.
Well, he is.
He is now. Well,
he always was.
But he's not.
He is. Time travel and quantum duplication are entirely different things.
Okay, then. It's not their rewind.
No one cares what you have to say.
But that surprise that nobody brought that up as a possible, he survived DJD, yada, yada, yada. Anyway. Megatron's body has disappeared. Like, gone.
But after this warm, lovely moment between Rewind and Chrono.
Well stolen Megatron's corpse and the 0.1% of spark from Brainstorm, which we saw through his cracked cockpit in the last couple of pages.
Harvested back on Luna 1 how many years ago?
Well, it would be about 5 million years in the future.
No, I mean in our time.
That
was an issue.
Almost 2.
It was 2 years ago, yeah.
But we knew that was coming.
Oh yeah, I mean we saw this coming.
Yeah, I love Whirl's tiny little fingers out of his claws.
Yeah, that's cool.
Kind of freaky.
A bit Ghost in the Shell.
Yeah, I love that how he says about a spark transplant can't be harder than fixing a watch.
Yeah,
but when he fixed a watch, he had hands.
Yeah.
So why can't he fix watches?
Because he probably can. He just can't do it as well.
Yeah.
And that's the true insult, I think.
So why is World doing this? Basically, he hates the Functionists more than he hates Megatron. And for the Functionist to have the last laugh is just too galling for him. And he makes everyone promise that nobody else is going to kill him once they come out, which I thought was, why didn't someone else just shoot him? Have done. And Rodimus says it, a forged spark inside a constructed cold body, the first hybrid.
Sounds like there were others.
So, obviously this is a 0.1% spark. So, speculate then, hybrids possibly the Phase 6s? Where they've...
I don't know. They probably had their bodies made the same way. I mean, the question is why you would ever need to make a hybrid. Why would you never have why would there never be a body for a forged spark? I mean, obviously we've said this before, we still don't really know what the deal is with forged sparks, but it's looking more and more like forged bodies grow out of like proto matter or Sentio Metallico G2 Comics style, and constructed cold bodies are made. So if you could always harvest a forged spark, then why would you ever need to put it in a cold body, you know? So I don't think it'd be the Fate Sixers, but something. I mean, the Rodimus says it like it's at least a concept he's aware of.
Yeah. So, back on the Lost Light, or while this is going on, the conversations are still happening. Time's moving again, but they can't get him back without recharging the briefcase. Rodimus is rather rude to Magnus and then hangs up. So, Tailgate then asks, "Can I borrow your phone?" And 3 years ago, a message comes through to Cybertron. Dun, dun, dun. Issue 1 of More Than Meets the Eye, if you remember at the end of it, had a message scratching across the Cybertron wastes. And here we have the full message. And the key points are: don't open the coffin, don't let them take skids, don't go to Delphi, do not, I repeat, do not look in the basement. And for the sake of the Cybertronian race itself, please don't trust Brainstorm, he's only a frickin' Decepticon. But then as Cyclonus points out, if the Lost Light doesn't take off, they don't find Luna 1, Tailgate dies of cybercrosis, nearly everyone else will die when Tyrus activates his kill switch. In fact, everything that you've told Rodimus to avoid is a net positive outcome. Well done.
Many other things too, and of course we know it doesn't, as Tailgate himself says. Like, I think it was a failed experiment because if it would work, I wouldn't have to send it.
Yeah. Which is...
But, I mean, Cyclonus is just sort of saying the things that all the readers have kind of thought already about all of these things.
Yeah, it's very similar to the issue or two ago when Megatron did the same thing about the Lost Light in general. When he made the comment about, I can't remember the exact wording, but, you know, this is the most idiotic space adventure of all time. Don't do anything. Now it's just, you're all idiots.
So Rodimus takes Cyclonus. There's due for one more teleport, but they can't go in time, they can only go in space. So they teleport to the other side of Cybertron, 5 miles below ground, to recharge the suitcase. And they arrive, and a vaguely familiar looking bot with some turbo foxes confronts them. He's the guard. Rodimus tells him no more killing, or no killing, and he runs off to find the quantum generator, or the generator.
Or an experimental generator.
The experimental generator to recharge the suitcase. So Percy talks him through it while Cyclonus is fighting this guy. Cyclonus then shoots this guy with Whirl's gun. He then starts to look rather nasty looking, surrounded by turbo foxes and turbo fox corpses, and Cyclonus locks him into a room. And now we have everything starting to take shape as Rodimus is finishing upgrading the quantum generator and
using the information that Perceptor has learned from being on the Lost Light in the first place, and the information about quantum generators from that. He talks Rodimus through perfecting this experimental generator and turning it into a working quantum engine.
Which, as we find out over the course of this page, is actually the engine from the Lost Light.
Yes.
The Lost Light used to be Unitrex.
Well, I thought that at first, well, but it seems like it is actually just a spaceship.
In part of it.
A Unitrex, yeah. This, what is it? The City of the Stars, birthplace of interstellar travel. Rewind, tailgate. So it's a spaceship that's been, and he pulls up an image of it from his database, and we see the Lost Lights fuel quills sticking up out of the ground.
And Percy's already said you've got to undo everything you've done because we can't have the ship the million years ahead of its time lying around the place. We also get to see the bottom side of Brainstorm's gun, which is called the Spark-Eater gun.
I twigged it before I read the bottom of the gun.
Yeah.
It was when we saw the fuel quills, and I was like, holy shit, that guy's the Spark-Eater. Oh my god.
Yeah. So Cyclonus has created the Spark-Eater and locked him in the Lost Light.
In the room in the bottom of the Lost Light.
At which point, the time case starts vibrating, and the generator and everything attached to it, including the Lost Light, which is basically what it is, has disappeared. Completely. Probably being sent approximately 5 million years into the future.
Approximately. If you look at the launch pad that they're on when it's all over, it says U1 on it, and that was the original name of the Lost Light. According to the nails that Drift bought it from. Yeah. So I'm like, how did they know?
Yeah. Or how far into the future was it?
Well, they
had just find it.
I can say, yes. That again, that's what they told Drift. They just found it.
Yeah, so it just randomly turned up.
Yeah, just ping somewhere.
And it couldn't have been that long because the Spark-Eater only has a few Turbo Foxes to feed off there.
Well, that's what I'm trying to figure out, because it's like, we did find, like, way back when, they thought that the Spark-Eater had been being fed Turbo Foxes to keep it calm. And we did find out that the Nails who found the ship did steal some Turbo Foxes from another ship. So, I don't know what to make of that. Is like, were they feeding it and they needed more, or what?
And it struck me as the Lost Light's only, literally weeks old when they get it because it's been jumped 5 million years into the future.
Oh yeah, I mean, it doesn't seem like it's too old, but those guys have owned it for a while.
Yeah.
Spark-Eaters don't seem to exercise restraint, So
No.
I'm guessing it made it through those Turbo Foxes pretty quickly. And that means that the fellow Whirl shot last issue turned into a Spark-Eater as well.
Yes.
And my thought on that was that the first Spark-Eater? Was that where the urban legend came from in the first place?
I imagine so.
From whatever that guy got up to after Whirl shot him.
We're about to time jump back home. The issue is almost ended. The story is almost ended. And Will brings up the one thing that we sort of have outstanding at this point from pretty much 38 issues of More Than Meets the Eye that has gone before. So, have we got to the bottom of Brainstorm being a Decepticon thing? And Brainstorm's like, yeah, look, I know I should be held to account. I've got things to answer for, but I've been thinking I'd really like to stay behind.
No, we skipped over a couple pages there, or a page there.
Did we? Sorry.
Well, no, yeah, but it was better for the way we were telling it, but we did skip over Brainstorm's motivations.
Am I... Oh, yes, sorry, I do apologise. I completely missed that page. No, I literally completely missed that page.
You were right to skip over it for the purposes of the recap, but...
Yes. So, Brainstorm's initial motivation was to save Quark.
Yes, we did all wonder why he stopped to look at Quark.
Yes, what was the reason for it?
And I know it's because he loved him.
Yeah, and it was only a one-way relationship.
Duh.
But then his ambition spiraled out of control and thought he could save everybody.
Yes, that's good. That's nice. I like that a lot. It's sad, but it's like, first of all, there's a selfishness to about it. You know, if you know what I mean, it's like it is very like Brainstorm to want to do something like that. If you know what I mean, he's like, that seems like a terribly bad idea. Yeah, Brainstorm. Yeah, it's like he loved this guy, but Quark never loved him or anything. They just worked together, and he wanted to do this for him anyway. And it also sort of shows us what I think that we can take it that maybe Brainstorm's sort of conflicted feelings about Perceptor can be traced to this as well.
Yes.
They're both microscopes after all.
And also, did you see what James tweeted to us for today?
Yes, Quark was always designed to look like animated Perceptor.
Yeah.
Well, I never twigged that.
He tweeted about it today, which was...
I get it now. Yeah. No, I never saw the tweet, but I never clicked about the design.
Well, I mean, I got that back when, but he appeared in an issue where, like, animated Scrounge and Beast Machine's Rat Trap were also faces in a crowd, so it didn't stand out as anything untoward at the time.
Fair enough.
The next day on the Lost Light, and Brainstorm's in jail, and everyone is relaxing like it's the end of the series.
They really are.
They are watching Back to the Future Part 2, which is so well chosen for any number of reasons.
Mainly that it's actually about characters traveling back in time to avert a terrible alternate timeline, and it's come into being.
And also the fact that it's a trilogy, like this has been.
Yeah, that's true too.
You know, and mainly that the second part was better than the other ones. So,
the first Back to the Future is the best Back to the Future.
Yeah, true. But we do end with Megatron looking down at his Rodimus badge, not joining in with the celebrations. Obviously, what Rewind has done in the past, present, what this Rewind did to his past self has obviously struck him quite hard.
Shaking him a bit.
Yeah, the universe would be better off if he had never existed. It's not just the Cybertronians, and it's almost that it gets the impression that he's never thought that before. He's never got that on top of his level of guilt anyway. It's just another nice layer on top. And Percy and Rung are studying Percy's studying the briefcases, and Rung comes in to talk to him. And we have the explanation of what actually going on. Rung asks about the fight in McAdams. He says, that I started it, but that only happened because of time travel. So how did it originally start? Percy says, well, actually, there was no originally. One thing Brainstorm didn't allow for was that you were meant to travel in time.
As we all guessed.
It's not... Yeah, these events happened because of you. So if everything we did was preordained, why did the timeline start collapsing? Well, that was an accident on my part. So basically, Perceptor screwed everything up. When he tried to remove the paradox locks, he momentarily created a macrocosmic environment within which parallel universes were possible. And these universes haven't been destroyed, or they might not have been destroyed. In fact, they might serve as starting points for further timelines. An infinity of new universes, and they all started life in that briefcase. And the Functionist universe,
which does still exist as its own separate parallel universe now.
If it's all part of a paradox, surely that they've always existed, and they were always destined to exist, because this was always destined to happen. So the briefcase was always going to have the locks removed, and
also a valid point. Yes.
It's all going cross-eyed, isn't it? Everyone's going cross-eyed.
Anyway, back to Cogface.
Yeah, back to Cogface with Quark. And We have a janitorial class being exalted, alt mode exalted for discovering that basically Rung, his alt mode is something that the Functionist truly fear. And
we had this implication before that in the prologue chapter that Rung was like a figure of importance or a figure of counterculture in this universe, because all hail the useless one, a protester cried, like because obviously nobody knew what he turned into, and they've obviously kept him locked up all this time because he is a puzzle they've never been able to solve, and that's dangerous. But now, in this beautiful mind type scenario, the janitor has figured out what it is that Rung turns into, and it's bad news for the Functionists.
I like the fact the janitor's got a broom. He's like Trigger from Only Fools and Horses.
His name is Sweep.
It's brilliant. Which I'd like to think he's Sweep from City and Sweep now.
just squeaks.
And the brilliant alt mode, you are now alt mode exalted and will be venerated accordingly. Now get back to work.
Yeah, what does that mean?
I don't know, but he's got to go back to cleaning the toilets.
He's got a Hoover there and everything.
Yeah, I think that's his hand.
Might be, yeah.
I like, there's that little touch of he's been named even for his function. Quark, scientist. Sweep, janitor. So it'd be interesting to see if we do ever step into this universe again, which I think is unlikely anytime soon.
It doesn't feel like I've seen people theorizing we could expect, and I don't feel like we would logically come back here again. So, it just seems like it's being used as a stepping stone for Rung to highlight the import of his alternate mode.
I agree. I think there's more chance of them coming into our universe than us.
Yeah.
Than, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
one of the cog chaps time jumping or universe jumping into the regular more than meets the eye than the other way around.
Or just
if anything.
If they're still around, we know what they want to achieve.
Exactly. If they're, if we see cog-faced chaps in more than meets the eye, then, we've been given insight through the other universe. But I think you're right, Chris. I don't see us coming back here.
So, what is it that Rung we've worked it out, Rung. We know what you turn into, and it's the very last thing we want. What is it?
I don't know.
It's. I mean, obviously, as we say, it's something. It's the one hook that's now left. Really going into, obviously, Brainstorm's Decepticon nature, but it's the hook going into season or series 2 of.
Series 2.5
of More Than Meets the Eye.
I wonder if this is the march to the season finale now, or if the mystery has longer to play out than that.
We've still got some more DJD stuff, haven't we, now?
And there's obviously the Tyra stuff from before.
Yeah, I mean, there's still danglers there, all that cyber utopia stuff. Whatever happened to Tyrus, where Pharma went.
Star Saber.
That feels like season 3 reoccurrence stuff to me now.
So,
thinking of it televisually anyway, obviously it's a comic, so it's not TV, so it's hard to know exactly, but yeah.
It does feel like this is the end of season 1. This does feel like, again, talking to Adam before it, and I think you nailed it, Adam, when you said this does feel like it's James's last issue.
It could, I mean, it feels like it really could be over.
Yeah, if there was an announcement tomorrow and James, God forbid, said, I'm not doing this anymore, you'd be like, oh, well, he wrapped up everything that, I really, really felt he needed to, and the other stuff, being a long-term comics fan, you learn to deal with.
Yeah.
It does feel very final, and the scene in the bar with all of your favourite characters around. Is anyone missing from that scene realistically, or that page?
Where's Mainframe? Huh? Where's Mainframe?
What's the girl's name? Is it Nautica?
Yeah, it's Nautica.
She is curiously out of step on all of this.
Who's the guy at the back next to Hound? The white guy.
Eyebrow, I think.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay.
I think so, anyway.
I like the little serving robot with a W on his head.
He's always around. I wonder what the W stands for.
I'm going to go with Wally, just because.
Yeah, it's good because the functionist classes haven't got their way in some ways, have they? You've got the little medic bot on.
He doesn't have a spark.
How do you know, Chris? How do you know?
Well, that's true, I don't.
He could be constantly being tortured in his... I'm a man, not a number.
Maybe it's they somehow brought Megatron's dead spark from the past back to life, and it's inside that. There you go, More Than Meets the Eye, Season 5.
Yeah. All along, it was.
And someone wakes up in the shower. So we've come to the end of Elegant Chaos, which means we've come to the end of the Chaos trilogy, which means, as I say, feels like we've come to the end of Season 1 of More Than Meets the Eye. Adam, so we need just some overall thoughts on this issue. Let's focus on this issue and then the arc as a whole from 3 issues ago.
Okay, that's hard.
But, okay, just give us your thoughts. I think if we try and limit this, actually, it'll get too complicated. So.
Yeah, there's a lot of meat to this story arc, and a lot of talking and a lot of science fiction, time travel-y, universe parallel stuff, concepts. This issue wraps it all up very neatly in a little bow. I do feel it wraps it up too tightly and too neatly, and I don't want to use the term it feels phoned in, because that's not fair, and I don't think that really reflects how I feel, but I just can't really think how else to articulate it. I think it plays out exactly as I kind of thought it might, and in a way that's a little bit disappointing, because I've come to expect a little bit more of More Than Meets the Eye.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you there.
As an arc, I feel like I've been on a roller coaster, and this is definitely the on the way down after last issue's. You've climbed the roller coaster to its pinnacle, and this is the rapid descent back to the end of the ride. And I've come to the end of the roller coaster here. So I'm certainly not as on the high as I was on the last issue, which I obviously really rated and thought was exceptional. That said, I don't want to come off as completely miserable, because I did enjoy this comic, and it's decent. It's a decent, good comic, and I enjoyed it, but it isn't as good as the one before it, and as part of the same arc, I, can't ignore that. I think Chris was saying about sticking the landing on this storyline on a previous podcast. This sticks the landing, but it didn't do it in style for me.
Okay. Chris?
Well, stick the landing is the phrase I was going to use, because it definitely did. I definitely feel like parallels are to be drawn with the second part of Slaughterhouse, because I've said my piece many times before on how I have felt most of the Season 1 big storyline payoffs didn't really land successfully. The end of the Overlord storyline, the end of Remain in Light, and how Slaughterhouse really did accomplish that very well. I think this accomplishes that just as well. Like Slaughterhouse, it does tend a bit towards characters standing around and explaining the plot to one another, explaining all the things that were mysteries over the last couple of issues in a not ungraceful, but not an ungraceful way. But like Slaughterhouse's surprising brainstorm revelation, it also finds time to drop another bomb in the second half of the comic with the revelation about where the lost light comes from and the spark eater and everything. So that really succeeded as well, I think. And it even works an action sequence in there with the Cyclonus fighting with the Spark Eater as well. I think it just really much succeeds on all levels. It's a comparatively, surprisingly, maybe low key ending to the trilogy after the quite not action packed, but the quite fast paced first and second chapter. But I think it really does. Hit all the points it needs to. I think it includes more explanations and more revelations than I think anybody had any right to expect out of the story. And it really does feel like it's tied everything going right back to the start of the series in a little bow, as you say.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing, isn't it, that we take away from it as it feels like a full stop. Almost followed by a but, which is terrible grammar. But
everything since season 2 began has fed directly into the next thing, and for us to reach a point here now where it doesn't. I mean, it doesn't. I mean, it's obviously the next issue is supposed to be the. Wait, is next issue next issue is the return of the Decepticon, the DJD. Yeah. So that is feeding off something that's happened. Already in the course of this season, but I've never really thought of the DJD as a big dangler, you know?
Yeah, they're always there, aren't they?
They're off separate doing their own thing. Much like the Scavengers, I've never thought of them as a big dangling plot thread or anything. Like, there's something we can and will come back to, but it's like, yeah, you know, if as Adam says, if Jibs were to ring the offices tomorrow and go, yeah, that's it, I'm done, I wouldn't be like, oh, but no, what will I ever do without the Scavengers? I'm like, no, it'll be grand.
They'll turn back up again.
Someone will take care of it, you know.
There's not enough mythos there, or enough backstory built up to think that something might be missed with everything you've mentioned there, pretty much. It's like, if anyone took that idea and ran with it, they don't have it. They can acknowledge what James has started, but don't have to worry about what was built up.
Rare are the pieces of fiction that so completely, or pieces of ongoing serial fiction, I should say, that get the chance to so completely tie off every single loose end going. When it comes to TV shows or comics, a lot of the time you have to take what you get. And, you know, if this is the caliber of what we get to take, I'm quite happy with that, you know. As I say, I think it maybe even more so than Slaughterhouse, it tends a bit towards the explaining stuff, because every time that happened in Slaughterhouse, it was usually while people were in the process of also doing something, you know, and they would talk to each other and explain it while they were in the process of doing that. In this case, it honestly is sad gay robots standing around talking about their feelings and why they've done what they've done.
Do you know, of all the things I thought you would have said just then, Chris, that wasn't it.
But the payoff is so well accomplished and broad and far-reaching and satisfying that it, like, the book has the goodwill behind it that it just pulls it off honestly without a hitch.
I think we all can go with the phrase "stick the landing" because it does.
And I mean, we have had reason to be concerned that it might not.
Absolutely. Would you say Slaughterhouse did the job?
Yep.
It was, but it wasn't as big an arc as this. It wasn't as deep as this. This wasn't just the ending of a couple of issue arc. This was the ending of 3 arcs that have gone back 4 years. 5 years?
I want to know how far back in advance a lot of this was planned. Like, I believe whenever Shadowplay was written, I believe a lot of this time travel stuff was planned. But do I believe that whenever Megatron had no batch code all the way back in Chaos Theory, that this was planned? No.
It would be some impressive planning if it was.
But then, you know, he did write Chaos Theory when he already knew he was going to be writing More Than Meets the Eye, and the briefcase is there right in the first issue.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. There's a big podcast interview someone's going to get the chance to do sometime in the near future to talk about the payoff of all this stuff. Going right back to the message in the first issue, like, finally finding out who sent that and everything.
Yeah, all of them.
Yeah, everybody did. That was nice.
If I have anything to level at it in a negative, as you said, Chris, it does get a little bit explainy, info dump explainy a number of times.
Jargony.
Yeah. And the other thing is, it gets a bit like, oh, there's that thing, and oh, that ties into that thing, and that.
Yeah.
And actually,
cute.
When you get the reveal of it being the Lost Light, actually, it's kind of like, well, yeah, fine. It's not like a big shock for me. The revelation that they were in the Lost Light and they were causing all their own things, it's just like, well, actually, that makes sense because it's been well written and well set up, and there were so many nods to it.
That there was a mysterious history of some kind to the ship.
Yeah, the fact that it doesn't have a history.
Yeah.
That's the mysterious history. And it's a tiny thing, but it does bug me, is the fact that the gun has Spark Eater gun written on it.
Yeah, have we ever heard of Brainstorm writing the names of his inventions on his handles before?
No, I didn't.
What about did he write it on Swerve, My First Blaster? Is that, or did Swerve write that?
Well, it was written on there, and Grenado is written on the grenade, so it does seem like that's just written on there. So because for all that goes on in this issue, it doesn't seem like any of the characters realize what they've done regarding the Lost Light.
No.
It doesn't seem like they understand that they've created it. So they kind of have to communicate to the audience that that guy's been turned into a Spark Eater by that gun, without the characters realizing it. So Cyclonus can't read Brainstorm's terrible handwriting. But the idea that Brainstorm writes the names on his inventions doesn't seem like it's something that's been set up in any way. It does feel a little, thrown in there. But like, for frick's sake, if that's the extent of the poor planning that we can complain about,
It wasn't the planning that was the issue for me. It was just trust us to work it out. It's by that point, it's so obvious that if you've not got it, it's more than likely because you haven't read the past issues. Which means working out that it's the Spark Eater from issue 6 or whatever actually doesn't matter a jot.
I don't know. I feel like flagging up the fact that the gun isn't just a gun probably is something that deserves a moment of dialogue or something.
That's like
and I do love the idea that Brainstorm would hold a Spark Eater gun. Because it's like, that seems like, why? And then you're like, well, Brainstorm. It's like, yep, seems about right.
But there wouldn't be Spark Eaters without his gun.
Yeah, well, that's it.
Yeah.
Well, notionally, anyway. I mean, perhaps we are to assume the fact that the other guy was the start of the Spark Eater urban legend, so Brainstorm was only inspired to make the gun because of the urban legend, which then in turn, well, I've gone cross-eyed.
Mm-hmm. Very much so. I just didn't. It annoyed me that I felt like it had to signpost it for me.
Well, as a book is, it's not spoon-feedy or anything, but it is the sort of book that will always take the time to it's like whenever Rung goes back and asks, and we get an entire page where Rung just says like, well, what happened originally? And Perceptor's like, well, you were always meant to travel in time. And I'm like, well, we got that like 3 issues ago. But it's always, more than me say, is the kind of book that will always take a moment to touch upon and explain what the relevance of every hint. And it was the same thing with the Slaughterhouse finale, where I don't remember exactly what it was they were talking about, but I remember that in the scene where they're searching through the wreckage of Brainstorm's laboratory and Nautica and Nightbeat are explaining the plot to one another, the bits that they are explaining are the little touches and moments about the little side-long things that have been happening and just explaining how they're all relevant and how they pay off. It's not spoon-feedy, but it also doesn't leave... Whenever More Than Meets the Eye doesn't want you to leave anything up to interpretation, it will make sure and not leave it up to interpretation for you. It will clarify it for you.
It bugged me. So, guys...
It just occurred to me, though, that they didn't explain why Transformers with more than one spark type were able to use the briefcase, though. And maybe it was because of the extra spark that he had with him.
Yeah.
But that was not touched upon, and I feel that is something that does need to be
Did he carry it so he could use the briefcase? In which case, but then Megatron would have been able to go back.
Well,
because
he would have been, but they may have. Well, yeah, I suppose, yeah. Yeah. Well, Megatron believed that he would be able to go back.
Yeah.
So perhaps he would have had a compatible spark type then. He just didn't go on the mission in the first place because.
Well, they didn't let him go because they were trying to save Orion Pax.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
But again, that could have been explained. There's detail there to be explained.
There's a few beats there that I think are deliberately unexplained for exploring them maybe a wee bit later on because Brainstorm has more to tell us.
Yes, absolutely. Right, gentlemen, the artwork. We should pay homage to what has been produced here. It'd be unfair not to discuss it at some length today, I think. So, Adam, what stood out, other than obviously Alex's and Joanna's normal quality? Was there any highlights or lowlights for you?
I mean, yeah, you sort of say about the quality, and I think, we every issue sort of gush over Alex and Joanna and just the art, the colouring that those guys do, and just produce what is just consistently an excellent looking book. You know what? I mean, I'm thumbing through my physical copy as I talk now, and it's kind of a great compliment to say there's nothing that stands out because everything's excellent, to be honest with you. There's no single image where I go, oh, that's so much better. And I'm not trying to dodge the question. I'm just saying it's all good. And there's nothing in this art, in this comic, that takes me out of the story for good or bad. I find when I read comics, if something's bad, it takes you out of the story because you think, oh, that looks bad.
Yeah.
If something stands out as unbelievably excellent, that can also sometimes take you out of the story because it's sticking out amongst what could be poorer art around it. Whereas this is just solid all the way through. Good storytelling. I didn't have any problem understanding anything that was going on. There's tons of little touches, that Alex always does. And just the different colouring, not just of the characters, but the lighting that Joanna does so well. Especially in the past Lost Light at the end, for example, it's just got a different mood, a different feel in there. When Cyclonus is fighting the Spark Eater that you don't really get in any other part of the comic. So, good stuff. The usual excellence.
I just flicking through noticed the static panel behind the guys when they're saying, don't open the coffin, don't let them take skids.
Yeah, it's all disruptive.
Yeah, I just noticed that for the first time. Chris, artwork.
No, really, like what Adam says, there's nothing in particular that jumps out about me because it's all produced to such a high standard. I think maybe if there was something that I noticed and enjoyed a lot of it was how much expressiveness that gets wrung out of Brainstorm, whether it's like the questioning expression when he's got the gun in his hand, or the evil squinty eyes when he's fiddling with the arc, or the what's the word? I don't know. Happy, sad eye expression he makes when whenever he's looking at Quark through the telescope. That definitely jumped out at me. Whirl is lots of fun this issue as well, just flailing all around.
He's getting a little bit Zoidberg, isn't he?
Well, not good. Damn right. No one cares.
The highlight for me in the artwork was the weathering on Brainstorm after it had been blown up. It was a nice detail that he is scuffed and scratched, and everything else is so beautifully polished. And except for Megatron, who, when he's being constructed, who just looks that little bit unfinished in places, that level of detail was really nice. I mean, obviously, these guys are on a tight schedule as well, but there is a depth to panels, to backgrounds, that obviously takes time to draw, and time to ink, and time to colour, and time to do well.
I think we said it before, but we're settling into a bit of a pattern now where Alex takes an issue off every now and again.
Yeah.
And we've got Tayato Sakamoto coming on to do next issue. I'm really looking forward to seeing how that looks. But, also it's like if Alex taking an issue off is the price we must pay to get such consistently strong visuals across these big moments, like that, yeah, I'm going to pay that price, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's it. I mean, I'm super excited to see what Sakamoto does.
One part that I feel I lost visually, or didn't get the relevance of visually, is Rung in the last 3 panels. The huge amount of detail on him. Yeah,
it's like it's not like wounds. It's not. I don't think it's supposed to be like scars from torture or anything. It's like, yeah, I don't know what it is.
2 million years of aging in a cell and not being able to polish yourself up.
Yeah, now this is a ridiculous leap of logic, and it's utterly stupid, okay? But doesn't that kind of make you think of the tech patterns of the Underbase?
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
And could Rung turn into, like, the key that unlocks the Underbase or something?
Or is he the font of all... It literally has all that knowledge stored in him.
Yeah, but then what does he turn into?
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's an absolutely preposterous logic leap that I'm making purely based on little techie patterns, which could be anything, but because we don't know what they are, you know.
So, gents, we've come to the end of it. Let's give it the rating and then call it a night. Chris, we'll start with you. Rate it and tell us why.
I'm really struggling on this one, honestly. I think, like, as an individual issue, it's probably like a 4, maybe a 4.5. Because, I mean, as I say, it tends a little towards the explainy. There are in a book, we've said it before, but it's like More Than Meets the Eye being a book where character is put ahead of plot. It kind of sticks out at you whenever the book finds itself caught in a moment where it doesn't have time to do the character moments and has to move the plot along, like we were talking about earlier, where nobody really says, "Rewind, what are you doing?" And there's none of the, the fact that that's missing. It feels like something that these guys would flip out about. It's an odd omission, and it's not a situation More Than Meets the Eye finds itself in normally. So when it does, it kind of is a bit more incongruous. But really, this is not an issue that can be taken alone or on its own merits. It's not really fair to view it that way, because this is the conclusion to a 3-parter. It's the conclusion to a trilogy that 3-parter is part of. It's the wrap up and payoff to over 3 years worth of storylines that we didn't really know that it was going to be going into it. And in that regard, it just, in all of that, it just accomplishes everything so well. I mean, it's a 5 from that point of view.
Okay. Adam?
I'd give it a 4. I think Chris is right. You can't really look at this issue in isolation. But I give it a 4 based on delivering the conclusion to the storyline. The art, we've said, is excellent. I've got no problem with the story. There's nothing in there which blew me away, but I did enjoy it, and it's a good comic. You know, More Than Meets the Eye remains a very good comic and a great read. Once a month. I think, the last issue I think I gave a 5 to, so, it's not quite as good as the last issue, but still a great, another great issue of More Than Meets the Eye.
Yeah, I think I'm going to echo all of that. It's a 4. It's a very solid issue, tying up a very difficult storyline. There's a lot of stuff, a lot of details, and there's a lot of, missteps they could have made with it, and they've done a great job in bringing it home safely. As we've said, we had reason to be concerned with this coming to an end of whether or not it would be able to pull it off. But now, season 2, James is 2 for 2 for bringing them home. So I think we can stop worrying about that.
Yeah.
So it's not the greatest single issue of More Than Meets the Eye ever. It's because it's hampered by the fact that realistically you're going to get nothing out of it unless you've read everything else.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a very good comic, summing up a difficult storyline and covering 37 issues that's gone before it. And
2 issues before that.
Yeah, very impressively. So, yeah, it's another good... More Than Meets the Eye continues to be enjoyable. I think that's a fair comment at the end of it. So, that brings us to the end of our review. Before we go, I'm going to ask the gents... At the start, we asked what Transformer would they buy MP25? But this time, guys, recommend us a comic. Adam, what did you read this week or possibly last week?
Oh, I haven't read any of this week's ones yet, apart from this. No, I tell a lie. I did read Spider-Woman this week. I believe issue number 5, which is the start of a new direction coming out of Spider-Verse, and it's Spider-Woman doing street-level stuff.
That'll be good for the book.
It's all right. But it's all I've read, so it's all I can recommend. Oh, I did pick up some... Chris, you'll be able to correct me, but it looked kind of fun and super mature. What's the one with the midget with the machete?
I don't know.
It's in my other room. It's from the guy who draws Goon. Goon.
I'm honestly not sure. I don't know it offhand. But Eric Powell is the artist. I'm not sure what he's doing at the minute. Midget with a machete, not sure.
Well, Chris, is there anything you will recommend?
Well, I have got the first issue of Jeff Lemire's Hawkeye. That's out this week, but I haven't read it yet, so I don't know if it's any good or not, but I'm willing to bet it is. But I haven't read it yet. Let's see, what else is new?
Doesn't have to be new, just has to be good.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of what I picked up recently that was a new number 1 even, but because I remember I recommended Ant-Man last time out because it was fantastic, and it's continued on through issue 2 as well, so that's good too. Squirrel Girl, Unbeatable Squirrel Girl is really top stuff that Marvel's coming out with as well at the moment. 2015 has launched a bunch of new titles, of good new books out of Marvel like that. Left of center books that are just there to be fun. Howard the Duck is coming this month as well.
Yeah, that's always going to be entertaining, isn't it?
No, I love Howard. Howard's always fantastic when he's written right. And this is by Chip Zdarsky, who is the guy who co-creates Sex Criminals with Matt Fraction over at Image. So I'm expecting good things from it. I doubt I'll be disappointed.
Excellent. Well, I have had nothing drop pretty much this month, unfortunately. I am currently awaiting the landing of Chew Volume 9.
Mm-hmm.
Chicken Tenders, which will be typical Chew, thoroughly entertaining comic books. And I think for Transformers fans, the Animated Allspark Almanac Complete Edition came out today.
It did. I haven't got it yet, but it did.
Same here.
It's waiting on annotations. They're going to be a while. I'm just not, okay? I'm just not. I can't. I'm not ready for it.
Have they changed anything on the pages, or is it all just reprint?
Yes.
Know? They've changed it all. Amazing.
Not all of it, little bits, but yeah.
So that means you're going to have to go through everything to see what they've changed.
That's why I'm not mentally prepared.
Oh, they hate you so much.
Yeah.
Clearly!
So much.
It's that kind of that can only be expressed as love.
Going back to my previous point, it's Big Man Plans is the name of the comic. Big Man Plans, number one of, I think, a 4-issue mini-series.
I didn't know it.
A brutal crime drama.
Who's it from, Dutch?
Good question. I'm not sure. Image.
Ah.
So I haven't read it yet, but it looks... I did flick through it, and it's got some horrific images, and it's not for young people.
Excellent. That has reminded me actually of a new thing that I have read, I think, since we did our last show, which is from Image, which is Kelly Sue DeConnick's Bitch Planet, which is just excellent. Essentially, orange is the new black in space. It's a world where quote-unquote non-compliant women are shipped off to a correctional facility on another planet.
Right.
And it's an unabashedly feminist book, but I bought the first issue with a pinch of hesitation because I normally like DeConnick, but some of her more high-profile work at Marvel hasn't done it for me, even though I really liked Pretty Deadly and I liked her work on Avengers and Osborn, but her Captain Marvel didn't do it for me. And basically the first issue did some stuff, pulled a big rug at the end of the first issue, and I was like, of course, yes, you got me good, you played into my preconceptions, you knew what I would be thinking, you caught me out, you showed me my own, yes, okay. So it's a book that, in addition to just telling a really good story, really did make me stop and think about my preconceptions and stuff as well. So well worth checking out. There's 3 issues of it out right now, so there'll be a trade along in the next couple of months. And I believe the first, all 3 of them have sold out. The first one got a second printing. I don't know about 2 and 3 yet, but very good book, worth a look. Very good.
I'm actually going to bring one up as well, and possibly I'm hoping one of you might have seen some of it. Rasputin.
I think I've heard of it, but I'm not.
No,
it's written by Alex Grecian and drawn by Riley Rossmo. It's the bringing back together of the Proof team.
I never read Proof.
Proof died too soon. In fact,
Proof was maybe like kind of. I think maybe people perceived it as a Hellboy knockoff,
which is unfair.
I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying that I perceived it.
So I'm looking forward to getting that when the trade lands in May, because they have those 2 guys back together. They did such good work on Proof. There is part of me that is annoyed that they're not actually doing another Proof book if they've got time to work together again. But it's like, come on, they set up 3 series coming out of the last trade, and then they just stop the book.
Poor.
It's just, what? That's not fair.
Tell you what. Speaking of trades, one other trade I did get, which I haven't read it yet, but it's the Darkwing Duck Definitively Dangerous Edition.
Amazing.
Joe Books have collected the complete Boom Studios series into one full-color omnibus.
That must be massive.
It's not that massive. It was only 16 issues.
Right.
But the whole thing's in one. They've not included the rather terrible DuckTales crossover that was the end of the series, but apparently they're going to be doing a new series sometime this year. So this is, and I thought I'd read like 3 of the 4 trades because this wasn't available in the UK. they didn't have the licensing to do it in the UK, so I had to download the first couple of things. But I thought I'd read like the first 3 or 4 trades, but it turns out I've actually only read half of it. So
that's nice.
Yeah.
At least you got a nice surprise out of that one. What seems to be with the return of the cartoon comic seems to be happening a lot at the moment.
Well, Boo was big on at that, and then Disney happened.
Yeah.
And then Marvel didn't actually do anything with any of the Disney properties, so now they're all being farmed back out to other companies again.
Because did I see Invader Zim's getting a...
Yes, and IDW just recently got the license to all the major other Disney properties as well. All the main Disney characters: Mickey, Donald, Scrooge, Goofy, all the rest. Yeah.
Ah. So Marvel have kept Star Wars. Am I right in thinking?
Yes.
Right. Okay. I've seen the various Star Wars books coming out, and they seem to be getting a lot of airtime.
I haven't read them yet, but it's like I have not read them because I am annoyed at myself. Because it's like, it's like, okay, it's Jason Aaron's on Star Wars, Kieran Gillen on Darth Vader, and Mark Waid on Princess Leia. And I look at those and I think, oh wow, those all sound fantastic. I would read that. I've never cared about reading Star Wars comics for the entire decades they've been under the ownership of Dark Horse. And I'm only paying attention now because Marvel have the license. I am a bad geek, and I'm not reading those on principle because I need to learn better. That's kind of why I read them.
I've read them all. I've read first issues of everything except Leia, which I've got in my pile because it's a sketch variant, and I like buying sketch variants, and I've got that of all the others. Star Wars and Darth Vader issue 1, it's all right. Like, if you got nothing better to spend your money on and you like your Star Wars, it's okay, but it's not mind blowing.
Well, it's blatantly
a glowing review there.
Yeah, it's cash in, isn't it? There's no other way to explain it.
Well, they cashed in like mothers because that first issue of Star Wars sold 1 million copies.
When was the last time a comic sold 1 million copies?
Jim Lee and Thingamy and Chris Claremont's X-Men, maybe? 91.
That's insane.
That's ridiculous. I don't know how much of the contribution came from something like Loot Crate, because Loot Crate pushed Rocket Raccoon up to the biggest seller the month its first issue came out. But
well, if they're throwing out, 20,000, 40,000, 50,000, then yeah, that instantly does it, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. I think it was 500,000 copies of Rocket Raccoon. Might be wrong though.
And I've got about 3 of those. All the variants. Well, some of the variants. I had to draw the line.
I said that must really skew the figures though when you get the issue 2 comes in. It sold like 100,000 copies.
Sure, because the figures are normally taken through Diamond, and I don't know if Loot Crate sourced them through Diamond.
Oh, of course, yes. Yes, that's why it's not very good.
I don't know. I'm not sure, though. They might have done. I didn't look.
Not that bothered.
I am not. I'm super not. The Guardians brand is going to implode when we turn around. They've pushed it. They've done a Deadpool on it. They've pushed it way too hard and far and fast and big, and it's going to blow up in their faces.
They'll get the second movie out of it.
Yeah, well, that's already happening. But right now there's a Guardians book, a Guardians team-up book, a Guardians 3000 book about the original 60s version of the team, a Star-Lord book, a Rocket Raccoon book, and there's a 6th one coming. I just forget what it is.
Isn't there a Rocket and Groot book coming separately?
I think that's a prose novel, believe it or not.
Oh, is it a prose novel? Okay.
There is a 6th one coming. I just forget what it is. It might be a guy.
It's too much.
Is it a Groot book? Just Groot tooling around the galaxy?
Well, you say that, but there was a Rocket issue which was just told through Groot, and it worked really, really well.
Yeah. you do those as your one-offs. It's like that issue of Hawkeye that's told entirely from the dog's perspective.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like silent interlude, but every issue
Yeah.
just loses the impact somewhat.
No, it's not as well. No, it's like the Hawkeye issue wasn't a silent interlude because it was all told sort of synesthetically from the dog's point of view through smells and images and sounds. It was a really good issue. I think it won an Eisner.
Rightly so, doing something different.
Well, Hawkeye's a great series and you should read it.
It's something I intend to catch up on, I must admit. Everyone has raved about it so much.
We are still waiting for the final issue to come out. The new series is starting before the previous series ends. But
Oh, bravo.
yes,
Bravo.
well, that's just the chronic lateness of the series. But it'll clock in at four trades total when it's over.
Oh, that's not hard to pick up, is it?
No, it's not at all.
I've been tempted by new Aquaman and new Flash. Tell me not to.
Jeff Johns is Aquaman?
Yeah.
I can't tell you not to read that, I'm afraid.
Ah, damn it.
But I can tell you that Flash didn't really do anything for me personally.
I feared.
Well, I can tell you. No, I'll tell you what I'll tell you is the first volume of Johns' Aquaman is good. I think it really does kind of peak with the first volume. It doesn't get any better than that. The second one is a very drawn-out story. The second one is a great one-sentence elevator pitch. Aquaman and a team of old allies from before he met the Justice League have to team up to stop Black Manta from collecting a series of ancient Atlantean artifacts, which will, when brought together, point the way to the weapon that sank Atlantis. But it's grossly drawn out and just too long. And then the third one is a crossover with Justice League, and then the fourth one is like where the old king of Atlantis returns from an eons long slumber. And then he stops writing the book, but the story's not over, and I swear I'll finish it in Justice League someday.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's naughty.
Like, he finishes the story that's going on in Volume 4, but it's like, keep watching Justice League for the big finale, to pay off all the other stuff that's floating around. And it's like, well, that was, that's getting on to a year ago now. And Justice League has still got its own Darkseid War event to do coming up after Convergence. So it's like, yeah, you can get to that whenever, Jeff, anytime you feel like it.
Got to love it.
But the first volume is legitimately worthy stuff and something I would hand to anybody that wants to see why Aquaman is cool in a way that doesn't involve giving him a beard or taking his shirt off or cutting his hand off and replacing it with a hook.
Well, that's 2 out of 3 reasons why I want to read it.
What? Well, he's not shirtless, Matt. He doesn't either have a beard or a hook hand in Jeff Johns' Aquaman, I'm afraid.
And on that note, we'll draw the show to an end. I think we've added...
That's right. I forgot we were still going.
I think we've added more than the actual review at the end there. So I will say thank you to Adam.
No problem.
Who's probably asleep at this point.
Stop paying attention.
He's back looking at Hot Wheels Crash'ems.
No, I have to admit, I was looking at Hot Toys Ultron figures.
Oh, you poor schmuck. And thank you to Chris.
My pleasure. Happy to be back. Feels like it's been ages again, but that's just the release schedule.
And we'll invariably see you in about a week to do the next one after 6 off. And we will see you next time on the Underbase. Bye.
Bye-bye.